All right. So, yeah, we are here in Arlington, Texas. My business partner and I, we flew out here. We've got a DUI seminar that we're going to be going to. It starts today. I've got about 30 minutes. They reorganized our schedule a little bit. So I thought I was going to be able to do a live show tonight, but they're going to be having a sort of a faculty dinner that they're going to be inviting us to. It's a pretty intense little seminar. Let me show you what is on the agenda here today. We're going from 2 to 8:30 tonight here in Texas. Then tomorrow it is all day from like 8 to I think 6, Saturday and Sunday, both days. But we're actually going over to a crime lab. So we're going to do some DUI blood analysis, some testing there, and it's going to be pretty intense. So this is the thing that we're going to. You can see here, we've got full days, we've got basic metrology, we've got gas chromatography, we've got basic mass spectrometry on the day today. And then from 6:30 to 8, we've got this introduction to faculty storytelling, and it's a dinner and all that. So we've got full day tomorrow. Looks like 6 to 10. There's a party tomorrow night. And so my schedule is a little bit more full than I was thinking about previously, but it's going to be a lot there. So I am probably not going to be able to do a full live stream tonight. I'm not going to be able to prep for it or anything. So I just wanted to come say hi, and we can run through some headlines still. No question about that, because there is some stuff going on. Let's see who else is over on locals. We've got 3 girlies. We've got Sweet Potato. We've got Chairman over there. Sapper Jackson's here. Finally got a notification. Jay He says it's all good. Enjoy the conference. Yeah, I'm very excited about it, but they sort of are extending it a little bit. I thought I was going to have a little bit more time at the nights to come and do the live stream as usual, but that's all right. I'm super excited about this. It's a small conference. There's only about 15 to 20 lawyers here. It's part of this organization called the National Council for DUI Defense, and it is a sort of a prestigious organization. And so I've read a lot about blood testing and how to do the gas chromatography, the sampling, and the pipetting, and all of that. But I've never actually been into a crime lab to go and do any of it. And so the reason being, of course, is because they don't want defense attorneys to know too much about that stuff. And so we're actually going into the University of, I think, Arlington, and or there's a crime lab over there in a university, or it's not even a crime lab, but it's an educational lab where they learn how to do some of the testing. And so we're going on Saturday and Sunday when it's not being used as a classroom, because they don't want you going to the state crime labs. I've gone and done tours of crime labs, but they're very, very, hesitant about letting a defense attorney behind the doors. And so I've read all about, doing all of this, but we're actually going to do it. We're going to put the lab coats on. We're going to go, and I think we're getting certificates and all of that. We're going to be pipetting all of the blood vials and doing all of the analysis. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I am very excited about being the dumbest person in the room. That's going to be a good thing. Every time I go to conferences, I try to find those conferences where I'm going to be the least experienced. The people on this list, the people who are presenting here, are extremely, extremely experienced DUI lawyers. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But we still have some stuff that we can talk about. We can still talk about what's going on in the world a little bit. Let's see. We've got, when I do my show prep, I want to show you sort of how I do this. I have this folder here in my browser that I call the docket. Now, it's not really a court docket, but I open up a lot of the news, the press releases from various parts of the country. One of the first places I start is by looking at Joe Biden's schedule, just to see what he's up to, because he's kind of the big man, the chief up there. And so we want to see what he's up to. His schedule today is pretty full. Yesterday, he didn't have much going on. Let's see, if we go over here, we can see that yesterday, on Thursday, September 23rd, not much going on there. 9:30 a.m., Joe Biden and Vice President got the daily brief. Then they had an in-town pool call, press briefing from Psaki over there at noon yesterday. And then Kamala and Joe had lunch, which was very nice. Today, though, it's a little bit more full. We can see that Joe had a lot of stuff going on Friday. Last Friday, when the world was melting down in the Biden administration, when the news came out about Afghanistan, drones striking a whole family, when the Haitian migrant crisis was sort of reaching its climax, when the FDA disapproved the boosters, when the list goes on and on, right? Joe Biden went to the beach. So this Friday, he is now a little bit more around. Got the presidential daily brief this morning, in-town pool call. President delivered remarks on COVID-19. I saw some of that. I think they're sort of overriding maybe the FDA. He came out, I saw on Twitter that he was actually basically approving these boosters sort of in contradiction to the FDA. So I got to look into that story a little bit further, but he's meeting with several people today, met with the Prime Minister, Republic of India, bilateral meeting. Then we have the press briefing by the White House COVID response team. Looks like first ever in-person Quad Leaders Summit. So that's fun, over with the Prime Minister of India and Japan. So Japan came as well, His Excellency Suga Yoshida. Jen Psaki press briefing 2:30, then another meeting with the Prime Minister of Japan, and then Biden's going over to Camp David for the weekend. So he'll take a little bit of a break there near the end of the day today. And so that's what's going on over there. Some of the other things I look at when I'm sort of running through the show prep is I like to see what everybody else is doing, at least from an enforcement perspective. And so I also go over here to the Justice Department website where they have press releases on a regular basis. So here we've got Merrick Garland announcing the appointment of somebody else for immigration review. We've got the United States returning Iraq rare tablets bearing a portion of the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is kind of cool, whatever that is. So they had looks like they returned to the Republic of Iraq a rare cuneiform tablet bearing a portion of the Epic of Gilgamesh, a Sumerian poem considered one of the world's oldest works of literature, which is kind of interesting. Nothing that would be really red meat for, of course, watching the watchers, but kind of interesting things just to see what the Justice Department is doing. Florida businessman, CFO of a natural gas company, arrested on tax charges, $93 million hidden in offshore accounts. We've got a Louisiana State police officer indicted, federal civil rights charges. We've got a bad popo over here. Let's see what this one's all about. We've got this guy, Jacob Brown, looks like a bad popo from Louisiana State Police, indicted today by federal grand jury in Louisiana, used excessive force on an arrestee, one single count of deprivation of rights under color of law. Let's see, Brown assaulted an arrestee, somebody identified as AB, repeatedly striking him in the head with a dangerous weapon. That's nice. Flashlight was modified with a medical tactical cap designed for breaking glass. Indictment further alleges the incident resulted in injury. 10 years prison, $250,000 fine. So this is from the DOJ. Not much there other than that. Anything else over from the DOJ? Business executive pleads guilty to campaign contributions. Let's see who he's contributing to over here. Who's this guy? California business guy. Santa Monica conspired with Ahmad Andy, make unlawful contributions to several political committees. False reports, $100,000, to Hill. Gave Hill $100,000. Who is the person that he gave this to? So is Hill... Yeah, interesting. So Stephen Hill is the name of the guy, conspired with others, but who is he donating to? I can't really parse that out. $50,000 to Hill's name, another political opponent. Okay, so, more campaign stuff. That was the news from the DOJ yesterday and today. Paying doctor over $100 million healthcare fraud scheme. Great. Indiana man pleads guilty to sexual offense on board commercial aircraft, Mile High Club. Let's see what this is. Indiana man, my business partner's from Indiana. He pled guilty today to sleeping with a woman on a flight from Indianapolis, from Indy to Colorado. Court documents said that they were on board the flight. Wagner was seated next to an 18-year-old woman. During the flight, the woman fell asleep, later woke to Wagner rubbing her inner thigh with his hand. After jerking away, the victim took a photograph. He was flying over Hastings, Nebraska. Victim left her seat, went to the restroom. Believed the flight was full, no other seats would be available. Retook her seat, placed a jacket over his lap, and the guy, oh my goodness, he was masturbating there. What on earth? He pled guilty to one count of abusive sexual contact. On an airplane? On an airplane. Wow, that's that's pretty bold. Wow. I mean, I just was on an airplane. Not a very good, convenient place to be doing anything like that. That is, wow. Okay. So that's what's going on from the U.S. Department of Justice. I also check out, when I go back through the news, I also take a look and go to the Southern District of New York, because there's a lot of stuff that comes out of the Southern District of New York. We spent a lot of time there. They don't have as much, but this is where a lot of the Trump stuff is taking place. This is where Ghislaine Maxwell, we have a lot of sort of high profile cases out of this jurisdiction. So I always look here as well. Queens man sentenced to 30 years in prison for kidnapping that resulted in the murder of a 24-year-old woman. So 30 years. Former analyst charged with $8 million insider trading scheme. Let's see what this is. Andy Strauss is securities fraud. $8 million in illicit profits. FBI was all over this. New York. Yeah, so, all right. We also have sex felon sentenced to 10 years in prison. We have a California man charged with perjury, sued Hollywood executives under false pretenses. Leader of Latin Kings, 19 years in prison. Mount Vernon Goonies street gang, sentenced to federal prison. They murdered a 13-year-old innocent bystander. Doctor sentenced to 10 years for conspiring to distribute millions of oxycodone pills illegally. Yeah, so all the doctors who were doing this are sort of getting rounded up now, which is good stuff. Of course, these stories kind of hit close to home. My younger brother was caught up in this opioid stuff, and that was certainly problematic. So I check out the DOJ. I also like to go over on Twitter and see what they're doing. So we have the FBI is still tweeting away. Let's see what they've got going on. They've got FBI is saying, following an investigation by FBI St. Louis, a judge has sentenced the man to 36 months for his role in accelerating a fire. If you're going to a foreign country, protect yourself. Let's see what else the FBI is doing. Hosting recruiting events at colleges. Redstone hosted over there. FBI Director Ray's testifying before Homeland Security Committee about threats to the United States. Let's see what his statement says here. This is where they're making a big pivot to domestic terrorism, domestic threats. We've been covering a lot of this on the channel for a long time. What did he say? September reminds us of the evil loss, sacrifice, and selflessness. FBI is now focused on disrupting threats, building deeper, more effective partnerships. On the cyber front, we're investigating over 100 types of ransomware, each with scores of victims. Violent crime, they've got 600 gang members they arrested in a single month. Every day, they have thousands of tips to their National Threat Operations Center. The list goes on and on. Preventing terrorist attacks remains our top priority. But they're also playing Where's Waldo, a lot of that. Let's be real here. When they're not investigating terrorism, they're playing Where's Waldo to find grandma at the Capitol building. And they're also sending the feds to rallies where they're saying that all the Trump supporters are. And it turns out it's a bunch of Fed boys in their watches and their sunglasses. So that's fun. Let's see what else Ray has to say. Since spring of 2020, we've more than doubled our domestic terrorism caseload. There it is, from about 1,000 to 2,700 investigations. 20 years ago, things were different. Now we've surged personnel to match. We're more than doubling the number of people working on the threat from a year ago. So they're surging threats by foreign terrorists. The operatives are continuing to search. Let's see. Our adversaries are committed. We've thwarted terrorist attacks all over the place. We're proud of our successes. Our workforce is battling terrorism. We've seen here it is. And I add that last part because we've seen a sharp and deeply disturbing uptick in violence against law enforcement. 52 officers feloniously killed on the job. We've got other duties, inherent dangers, lost their lives to COVID. Look forward to your questions. Yeah, FBI is transforming. Here it is. To meet the evolving threat, the FBI is surging resources to our domestic terrorism investigations in the last year, increasing personnel by 260%. Importantly, our increased focus on domestic terrorists is not at the expense of our work on other things. We're also focused on Al-Qaeda and 9/11, the PRC, but no matter which threats have dominated, we're going to be continuing to work. Focusing on capital violence, you can see a whole section here. FBI special agents, intelligence analysts, professional staff. They've all been playing a lot of Where's Waldo for the last 9 months. And we saw some video of this. I don't actually have the clip, but we have a I did see some new video that was released. Actually, Jack Posobiec posted this over on Twitter, and you can just see new video footage of what it looked like inside the Capitol building. And it's a bunch of people walking around like tourists. And so they're still going to be milking this thing indefinitely. And FBI Director Christopher Wray is here talking about it. We got a full statement on this thing. Top terrorism threats. What are they? You can take a look at this here. We see this word once again, homegrown violent extremists, these HVEs. Both of these threats, along with foreign terrorist organizations, form the most significant terrorism danger to our country. They're located primarily in the United States and radicalize and mobilize to their own violence. The domestic violent extremists, these homegrown violent extremists, are motivated and inspired by a mix of social, political, ideological, personal grievances. Civilians are the targets, houses of worship, retail locations. Soft nature of their radicalization. Let's see. Challenges are being faced by law enforcement to disrupt these lone actors. Some violent extremists have continued to target law enforcement. We are now saying that these are racially and ethnically motivated. Look at this. I can't stand this garbage. All of these different, look at all these acronyms. DVEs, domestic violent extremists. Then we have foreign terrorist organizations. Then we have homegrown violent extremists. Then we go down here and now we have DVEs again, but it's a little bit different because we have RMVEs, racially and ethnically motivated religious extremists. And then we have another category here, which of course, I'm certainly lumped into anti-government and anti-authority violent extremists. But I'm not a violent person. I don't want any violence. But yeah, the government is pretty terrible. So we can just see they are just coming up with all of the different letters in the alphabet to justify all of the different categories of homegrown domestic extremists. So that's what the FBI is doing. In addition to playing Where's Waldo, we've got some cyber concerns here that they're talking about. Cyber criminals. We've been seeing that they're coming after crypto in all different areas. They're going to be trying to sort of limit a lot of that. We've got dark web scaring. Look at this list. Foreign malign influence, lawful access, big list there. So it's good to see what the FBI is doing. So that's fun. We also have the criminal division over from the Department of Justice. We saw some of this stuff. Business executive pleads guilty. Let's see who they're looking for here. Sinaloa cartel, $15 million for Ismael Mario Zambada Garcia. They've got a Snapchat. If you want to send it to, send them something. It's narco_tips. So the FBI has a Snapchat now. So that's good. They can take breaks from their Where's Waldo. We also have SCOTUS blog. Let's see what they are talking about here. We've got Texas abortion providers are asking the court to rule on a challenge to abortion law. So that's coming up. Court scheduled an argument in the Mississippi case. We talked about the Texas case at some point in time, but the Mississippi case was actually ahead of Texas. And so this may be coming up sooner rather than later. It looks like December 1. Supreme Court announced on Monday that it's going to hear an argument on December 1 in a challenge to Mississippi law that bans almost all abortions after the 15th week of pregnancy. That case is going to be Dobbs versus Jackson. Court was deeply divided in the Texas case. We already saw that. We covered that on the channel. So December 1, it's coming up. Court announced on September 8th, it's going to return to the courtroom. We've got a lot queuing up there. So abortion's going to be back in the news. That's coming here in December. That's going to be a lot of fun. So that's just kind of some of the headlines here. I've got about 6 minutes left before I got to jump into the next episode. But I just want to say hi. Let's see who's chatting away over there on Locals. Sapper Jackson says, HVE. Yeah, that's a new one. Homegrown violent extremism. So that's very nice. We've got Dave Twos here. We've got three girlies here saying, so they're just making up new terms. They can't even do the job that they're hired to do, like protect children from Nassar. The FBI is just dropping balls all over the place. If they're not dropping balls, like in the Nassar case, well, then what they're doing also is sort of concocting the conspiracies that they're investigating entirely. We saw this a lot with the Governor Whitmer case, where the FBI agents were literally texting people who were the confidential informants who were gathering evidence and then encouraging them to delete the text messages that had the instructions that were dictated from the FBI to these undercover informants. So pretty horrible stuff going on out of the FBI. We also have Joshua's here saying hello from North Carolina. John Halgreen says there's a vaccine for HVE. Good to see you, John. And John is always here. Hope you're doing well, John. John Delar says the FBI needs to go. Sweet Potatoes also in the house. Sapper Jackson's talking about white rage. Spondog says, Rob, you're changing things up a bit. Yeah, I was going to do, I would love to do the regular show as scheduled, but I was explaining at the beginning of this stream that we have sort of our schedule is getting jockeyed around a little bit. It's a small group, and so we have the freedom to do that. Everybody can kind of move things around, and we've got some pretty amazing attorneys here, and so if they're going to be sort of giving more of their time, we're going to have to take full advantage of that, but it's going to eat into the nighttime, so I'm not going to be able to be back here for a full stream, but I certainly wanted to at least to come and say hello to everybody here, since we're probably not going to be back here later tonight, or if we do, it'll be another impromptu stream, sort of depending on when we get done. So I'm very likely just going to upload this video to YouTube, and that will be the content for the day. But I definitely wanted to come and say hi to everybody here in Locals, and it's pretty neat that I can do this. I figured out how to use my software to stream over on Locals, and I think what we can do is segment the show a little bit. So I can sort of do the live stream on YouTube and then stop, and we can do some of the more spicy stuff over on Locals. I think I figured out how to make it all communicate. So that's pretty cool. Let's see, a couple other questions before I got to jump. I got about 2 minutes. Jay Heath says, thanks for hanging out, Rob. Always good to see you. It's good to see you, Jay Heath. I've been missing doing the show. I've had so much stuff going on. I've had my voice. I've had that sickness a couple weeks ago, and now I'm sort of traveling, but we're going to get back on track. We're going to get back into a good routine and a good rhythm. But I planned this conference. We scheduled it 9 months ago, and it sold out almost immediately. I was like the first person ready to go. I was like, I want in on this. And we got in, myself, my business partner. It's totally sold out. It's going to be super intense, but I'm going to learn a ton. So it's going to be fun. Sapper Jackson says, Russiagate probe, Rob. Sweet Potato says, how's your hotel view? Parking lot or the fruited plains? It's actually a great view. So I'm in Arlington, and I'm nestled right in between the new Dallas Cowboys Stadium, which we may try to go see it. There's a Monday Night Football game. I'm not a big sports person in general, but we're not going to be able to go to the game because our night on Monday ends at 8:30. But they have tours and stuff of the new stadium, and I'm kind of interested in that because they have that massive jumbotron, and I kind of like big giant structures. It's kind of fun. So we may go check that out, but I can see it right out of my hotel room. And we're also nestled in between Six Flags. So there's Six Flags. I can see all of the roller coasters over there as well. So it's kind of a pretty cool view. And I've never spent any time in this part of Texas. I've only flown through Dallas just sort of as a juncture point because it's a big international airport. And I've never spent any time sort of traveling around here, but it's a beautiful place. And I'm learning that I'm not actually in Texas. I'm in Texas. Texas. You got to get that fortitude when you say it. And so it's been good. It's been sort of a lot of fun to talk to everybody about things that are going on. So we are going to start here in a couple minutes. I've got to jump into the next episode here, but I want to just say final shout outs to everybody. Joshua Schaub is here. We have 3 girlies. We've got Arnie B5. We've got Sweet Potato. And they're all chatting away over on watchingthewatchers.locals.com. And so, my friends, I got to jump because I've got another meeting coming up. But it was very good to spend a little bit of time with you. I now have figured out how to do the Locals live stream with my software. And so I think that we're going to be able to do a little bit more of this. And I appreciate you being here. I hope everybody has an amazing rest of your day. And I'll see you here on the next one, my friends. Have a great day. Bye-bye.